Hello there, FX Mavericks. This is Rob Reinhold. It is the Currency Recap, and here we are into October. So let's start adding to our pip count in October. In this session, we're going to go over the news of the day. We're going to take a look at the commodity markets. They've definitely been moving lately with the Middle East tensions. And then we've got some current market analysis, and we're going to score everything from +3 to -3. And then we're going to pair up the strongest versus the weakest, and that's where our hunt is going to be for a trade.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the Apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
All right, today ended up being a fairly quiet day in the equity markets, but we had a lot of action in the currency markets. Now, first off, we saw a big fall in the yen. The yen has been under pressure ever since the election. The new prime minister announced that Cato is going to be the new finance minister, and Cato is a fan and a study of Abenomics. Now, if you have not been in the Forex game for a long time, Shinzo Abe was the prime minister of Japan for a number of years in the 2010s, and he was very famous for basically opening up the spigot towards quantitative easing. It just poured tons and tons and tons of money to try to get Japanese inflation, which has been in deflation for 30 years, to finally get it back above. So the fact that this new finance minister looks like he's a student of Shinzo Abe is really worrying the market that there is going to be more easing to come. The equity markets ended up closing basically flat on the day, but overnight we were sold off about 0.5%, and this is just spillover from the Mideast tensions that we had earlier in the week. The markets ultimately rebounded and closed flat for the day. We'll have to see where they go tomorrow to get any sort of sign. And then we did get one bit of economic news from the U.S., and that was the ADP employment report. It was up 143,000 jobs. I think expectations were close to around 120,000 jobs. So what this is telling us is that we should expect the payrolls report on Friday to be either at or above expectations. Now look, ADP employment doesn't always get this right, but most of the time, if ADP employment is higher than expected, you usually get a pretty decent jobs number on Friday. If we take a look under the hood here and take a look and see what happened in the currency, you can see that it was really all about the yen. The yen was the big mover here, and you can see down 1.8% in a day. That is a really, really large move. You will not see moves like this only a couple times a day inside of a year. But I want to point out the rest of the market. Take a look at the rest of the market. Basically flat against each other. So if you were trading, Aussie against the CAD, there really wasn't much differential there. If you're trading, the dollar against the euro, there really wasn't much differential there. So the real story here has been the yen, and I'm actually going to say that is probably likely going to be the story. Yen seems to be really in play where everything else is not really moving anywhere quickly. If we go over to the regular markets, you can see the S&P was basically flat, VT up a little bit. Crypto down 1%. That's a very small move in crypto. And gold down, oil up a bit. As you can see, mostly everything is flat. When we take a look at the cryptos individually, we can see the Ethereum has continued to be the underperformer, but everything else was flat. This was a very flat day outside of the yen. So just understand that. Outside the yen, this was a really not a great trading day. If you were trading yen and you were trading it short, you had a great day. But outside of that, there was not a lot going on. Let's take a look at this S&P chart. And you can see we had a breakout back here. And we ran for about 5 more days. And again, when I say ran, it was a very, very tepid run. But you can see now we've just had this pullback. We would expect, back here, if you ask me, Rob, what's likely to happen? I say we probably pull back to this level and have a bounce. That is what technical analysis says. And you can see we've pulled back. We've gotten pretty close to it. This is a pretty decent looking little reversal candle. Take a look. We've got lower wicks all 3 days, which means that the selling was intense at one point during the day and then rebounded. That's telling you the buyers are out there. They're just waiting. They're just patiently waiting for those prices. If we can get a nice green candle tomorrow, I think that will signal the next run up to new all-time highs in the market. So as you can see here, I'm still pretty bullish these markets, and I do think we end up getting a bounce. But that being said, the Mideast tensions is likely going to keep a lid on things. I don't think we're going to have a huge rally and a huge run until after the election is over. I think for now, the market is probably going to be fairly sideways to grinding higher. On the next 24 hours of calendar, there's just not a whole lot. We do have some inflation news coming out of Switzerland. But other than that, we do have ISM services. Other than that, I think everyone is waiting for Friday. Everyone's waiting for the U.S. employment report. I don't see a lot of great opportunities from now until Friday. I think you are most likely going to see a lot of what we saw today. A lot of just sideways price action, people waiting for that report on Friday, with the yen being the only thing in play. So let's go ahead and look through some of those charts and see if we can identify where the strength and the weakness is in this market. Let's just start off looking at the yen basket. So this is the yen basket on a daily chart, and you can see that we are at really key levels here. Really key levels, and whenever you see a candle like this, it's really telling you it probably is going to break through. When you see a candle like this, it tells you, oh, people came in and rescued it. Down here, yes, we got a bullish engulfing. But we'll see. If we get a red candle tomorrow, I think you can absolutely look at this chart and say, okay, that support line is broken. Where is the next level? And I think you got to start looking, down in here for the next level of support or resistance, somewhere in this area. That's a large move. So I still think the yen is where you want to be. The question is, what do you want to be long against it? Well, the dollar has been okay, but take a look at the dollar on a daily chart. It's not a great, we are getting some bouncing signals here. There's no question. It's bouncing. Things are turning up. But we don't like to play bounces off of downtrends. We like to play breakouts out of uptrends. So let's take a look at Swiss franc. That's totally uninteresting to me. Let's take a look at euro. Euro is more in a downtrend. So if I'm looking to play something long against the yen, it's not any of those. Pound. Okay, the pound is showing some more decent. We had a run. We're having a pullback. RSI pullback to the 50. Okay, it's not quite there yet. CAD is in a downtrend, so I'm just going to keep skipping. And really what I'm left here is Aussie. Aussie looks okay. Let's take a look at Kiwi. You can see Kiwi has run into some overhead resistance. To me, there's really only one story out here, and that is Aussie. Aussie is the only thing to me that looks like a buy on a daily chart. That is just it. Let me also pull up the crypto basket. This is the basket. We're not going to take a look at any cryptos individually, but you can see we came up, hit this resistance point, and we've come back down. So until we get some more bullish price action, and yes, someone could say, Rob, hey, this is a doji forming. Okay, if you want to keep an eye on it, a doji with a bullish candle tomorrow, maybe you could say, hey, I think we're going to run back to those highs that we just hit. Here is Bitcoin. Okay, possibly 1 or 2 more days, you might be able to justify a run back up to 66,000. But for me, I am not looking at cryptos at the moment. I am really just focused on yen trades because that is where the action is at this moment. Here is where all the velocity scores stand at the minute. I like the Aussie number 1. The reason I like it because when you take a look at the trend score, it's also a positive score. Yes, the US dollar right now has a lot of velocity to the upside, but when you take a look at a daily chart, it's just a bounce off of a new low. So for me, Aussie number 1, boy, I don't even want a number 2. Probably go with CAD since the daily chart looks a little bit better, but not much. But really, Aussie, CAD, and maybe pound. But boy, I just think there's only one trade at the moment here, and that's Aussie yen. So let's go ahead and take a look at Aussie yen on the charts and see if we can actually find an entry place. All right, Aussie yen. And you can see here, here's the daily chart. And you can see that we are breaking out. We just broke out of this last high with a lot of momentum. It looks good. Sorry, that's a 4-hour chart. Take a look at a daily chart and you can see we're also breaking out of a range. So this just looks really promising here. Breaking out of this resistance area. So we got breakouts on the daily chart. We got breakouts on the 4-hour chart. Look, this thing is ready to go now. Now this is where, again, as a young trader, I remember being very focused on getting an entry point that's correct and setting everything else. And look, you should absolutely do that. But sometimes you do that to your detriment, to where you basically identify everything that you want in a trade. And then because you say, I want the perfect entry price, it runs away from you. And that's what this one to me looks like it could potentially do. So this is one of the strategies I started using as a young trader in this situation, was to get in half. Get in half. Get in half now without, what is quote unquote the greatest entry point, and then enter the other half when you do get what you believe is a great entry point, which would be a base. So let's say this thing comes up here, you get in half, and then it bases for a little bit and then breaks out. That's when you take your other half. Or let's say we do get a pullback. Let's say you get in half and you get a pullback and it comes down to this level and then it starts to bounce. Yeah, take your second half over here. Now you're in a much, much better spot. So I do think this one is ready for entry, but I do like a half entry here because look, we've had some very strong candles. We're probably due for some sort of pullback. When you get strong candles, you get some pullbacks. This is where, again, you want to get in this one, but you want to get in it the right way. So I think half entry here, half entry later on a confirmed pullback or a base is the best thing here. So right now it's at 184.6, so 100.84. And let's go ahead and try to find a target here on this one. I think we're likely going to have to go with this trend line here. Let's get this drawn correctly. All right, so I'm going to try to connect those points as much as I can. So I think we can look at a target of 103. That's a big move. I don't think it's going to get there, anytime soon. But look, it's a Wednesday. We could easily get another 2 days of a run and easily get up into the 102.50 area. So I do like this trade. I like the entry here. So to wrap this up, I think the rest of the markets are pretty much flat and not great trading avenues. I just don't see great trades out there. If you're in the commodity section playing oil and maybe some silver, sure, those things are moving as well. But for the most part, the markets are flat. To me, the yen is the only thing in play, so that is what I'm looking to play here over the next 24 hours. Thanks for joining me. Everyone, take care. Goodbye.